Okay, guys. Bad connection, huh? Poor connection. Well, today's date 12/12/2017, 9:22 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Eye of the hand. The eye sees everything. What I like about this channel is that they keep a record at the bottom of everything that's going on. And I don't know why that's the way. All right. So, as you see, okay. But let's just listen to what she's got to say here. All right, guys. So, here's what we got. We're going to play.
Is melting faster than ever, according to a new report released Tuesday. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, has put out its annual Arctic report card for 2017, and it paints a pretty grim picture for the health of the North Pole. Jeremy Mathis is director of NOAA's Arctic Research Program, and he joins me now. Welcome, Jeremy.
Thank you very much for having me.
So, Jeremy, this report finds that there was less winter ice in the Arctic Ocean than ever observed before, and ocean water in parts of the polar seas was 7 degrees higher just a few decades ago. What is contributing to that?
Is warming as a whole, but the Arctic is warming twice as fast as everywhere else, and that's causing a major loss in sea ice throughout the year. But this year in particular, we observed the all-time record minimum sea ice in this past March of 2017. So there are some big changes that are going on in the Arctic today because of the intense warming that we're seeing.
Well, you say the environment is changing so quickly in such a short amount of time. Can you put that into context for us? What is the time frame that we're looking at here?
Absolutely. Well, we've used some new data to show that the pace of change that's happening in the Arctic today is unprecedented within at least the last 1,500 years. And we think it goes back further than that. But at least in recorded history and humans' ability to measure change in the Arctic, the rate that we're seeing today is really staggering. And that's making it difficult in a number of different ways. We're seeing changes in the rate of ice melt off of the Greenland ice sheet. We're seeing coastal erosion that's impacting communities along the Arctic. And we're also starting to see connections to extreme weather events that are being caused by these changes that are happening in the Arctic.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit more about these extreme weather events? You've got less ice, warmer water. What are some of the results of that we've already seen?
Absolutely. Well, the reason that the jet stream exists, which is that big jet of air that pushes through the atmosphere, the reason that is where it is because there's a big temperature gradient that exists between the Arctic and areas down over us here in the United States. Because the Arctic is warming twice as fast as other parts of the planet, that temperature difference is starting to break down, and that can make the jet stream.
Okay, real quick. The reason why that's happening is because scientists and NASA and NOAA has already admitted that there are 90 volcanoes under the ice. Okay, and in my previous video to this, I've explained it already to you guys at the end of the video why it's happening. I don't need to say any more. I'll make a video explaining the two videos, this one and the emission of the programming of the population, which is pretty fucking interesting when you ask me. See, everything that everybody's been saying is true, and now they're finally admitting it.
Start behaving in unusual and unpredictable ways. And so we can't point to any one extreme weather event, whether it be a blizzard or a hurricane, as evidence of changing Arctic conditions. We do know that what's happening in the Arctic doesn't stay in the Arctic, that these rapid increases in temperatures and the rapid loss of sea ice is having an effect on weather patterns and longer-term climate patterns across the northern hemisphere. And we do feel like that will begin to cause some disruptions going forward.
A moment ago, you mentioned the effect on coastal areas. The report card also includes reports on how the warming trend is affecting valuable fisheries.
All right, real quick, guys. Coastal areas. I'm going to sum this up. Edgar Casey, I believe it is, Edgar Casey, predicted a map of the coastlines around the United States and around the rest of the world and how much they would rise. And guys, it is happening. It's happening exactly the way that it's all been fucking foretold. Every bit of this is fucking happening the same way. You know, climate change is real. Climate chaos is real. Global warming is real. But it's only real due to the fact that we have a fucking planet out there that's coming in. Alright? And what it's doing is it's stirring up the lava in the core. So when God said, and this is some fucking deep shit right here. So when God said the beasts of the earth will come out of it, they will come up out of the pit, it's because it's heating up inside the earth. And now, in this, they're about to tell you in a second here that when the area that's frozen thaws out and the structures, because of the structures that are on top of it, the land sinks. Well, that's impossible, channel. Just fucking told everybody that the other day. But my main thing is Facebook just finally admitted to programming the kids. They said it was unintentional, but they contradicted themselves when they said they knew what they were doing and they knew it was wrong, the negative effects that it would have on society. 92% of the teenagers are on the internet all day. All day. They go to sleep with the phone in their hand. They get a text message, they wake up right out of dead sleep. All right? They're programmed to accept in this new reality. All right? And, you know, they're at the dinner table. They can't even fuck. I mean, they're not even putting food in their mouth. They're typing, or they're speaking to their fucking phone. Like, this shit is not food. You can't eat this phone, man. Get real, man. Have a real conversation with your fucking family. Maybe that's what's wrong with society today. They're allowing children to become transgenders at fucking 8 years old. Look at National Geographic. You know, I mean, there's so many fucking topics to touch on, guys. Those are the small potatoes. This right here, they're telling us what's going on straight to our fucking face. They're telling us. So if you watch this video from the beginning, you get more of an explanation. But you go to my last video I just put on, you'll see about the Facebook and their admissions. Now, this is today. This is today, guys. This is no bullshit. Now, let's continue to watch. In my next video, I will do a live broadcast. I will sum everything up. Everything. I will explain everything in great detail of how it's going to happen step by step. What has already happened, what is happening now, not only in current events, but matched up with the Bibles say so. Okay? Now, I know a lot of people don't like to hear about the Bible. But when the Bible is being proven right, all right, through Revelations, you take Revelations and you compare it to what's already happened, what Revelation said would happen, and you match it. Okay, now you get rid of that verse. It's in the past because God said these things too shall pass. All right? But God says, I'm going to give you a brief what I'm talking about, what my meaning is, right? So God said when Damascus is completely destroyed, this will happen next. When the Dead Sea is completely dried up, this will happen next. So he basically telling you. Now, if you look at the Dead Sea, guys, the Dead Sea has got like a pond of water in it. Damascus, there's only 30% of the capital left. There's nothing left once it's completely destroyed. Now, Jerusalem is about to build a third temple. Why is it none of these YouTube channels talk about the third temple? Why? Why are they avoiding it? Because it hasn't happened yet. So they should be focused on the third temple before it happens. But why don't you do this? Why don't you go in the Bible? Because I've already done it. I've showed paperworks. I've eliminated certain Bible verses out of Revelations. Because when you do that and you figure out where you are now on the timeline, you know what you got left. All right, instead of having a mess of words to pick from to figure out what it all means. You know what it means. Compare it to what's already happened. Get rid of it. Once you've done that, you'll have a few pieces left, and it'll be easier to tell what's going to happen next in the correct order. Like, this is no bullshit. Listen to what they say real quick. You can hear it from the beginning in its entirety, but let's hear it.
Roads, homes, and infrastructure. Can you explain a little bit more how that might be?
Absolutely. Well, as the Arctic warms, something called permafrost begins to thaw.
I said this
Permafrost is
a
just
year
simply
ago.
ground that's been frozen for thousands of years. And in a place
Hold on,
like
I gotta say
Alaska,
this.
a number of
The land is sinking, ladies and gentlemen. It's sinking in certain parts of the world. Certain other parts of the world, new land masses are rising. Edgar Cayce said that would happen. He said that would happen in all of his predictions. Okay? Now, the earth is swallowing itself. It's eating itself from the core out. That's why we have sinkholes. Some of this information has to be getting out. It's got to get out. Like, I can't hold it in any longer. I mean, it's things I know. I almost went crazy knowing this shit, and nobody listens. But the point is that the earth is eating itself. That's why sinkholes are happening and all that other shit, and water and lakes and ponds and rivers are disappearing inside the earth, because when the lava opens up underneath and the hole falls in, the water spills down in and cools the lava. You see what I'm saying? And then the dirt washes down in and covers everything. So you don't even know what the fuck is going on. But because that Planet X is coming by, it's heating up the core of the planet, right? It's taking the coronal hole in our sun. It's ripping the magnetosphere backwards, exposing a coronal hole from the sun to the earth, which spews out radiation directly to the earth. Like a microwave does its food, it cooks it from the inside out. That is why the fowl of the sea is coming out of it. Like God said, let the fowl of the sea come out of it. The foul of the air is because of the chemtrails. But there's many different meanings to the chemtrails. They're doing it for multiple different purposes. They're doing it to cover up the Planet X. They're doing it to cover up so you can't see the meteors coming through the atmosphere. They're doing it because it's got electrical properties. So if the artificial intelligence gets out of hand, they can zap them bastards dead. I mean, there's a lot that's going on. But I'm going to tell you this. You have abilities that they don't want you to know. And that's what Jesus Christ was talking about when he said, break away from them. Jesus Christ performed miracles, was he not? Was he not healing people and giving people their sight back? Did he not walk barefooted in the desert? Did he not walk around the earth barefooted? Well, if you check out recent studies about grounding yourself to the earth, to the grass or the soil, it puts the energy in it. It cures you. Like people with bad pains, man. Bad pains have gone out. Like they did a study. Doctors done a study and they didn't believe it. They went out and now they stand there. They got chronic inflammation and pain in their back. They go and stand on the ground. As soon as they touch their feet, their bare feet to the bare ground, it reduces it by 90%, their pain. Okay? We need the earth. So the government, their way to stop this, to stop us from charging up and using our abilities like telekinesis, reading minds, throwing thoughts, levitation, all these things, every human can do, all of them. Every human can do every single one of those that I just named. There's not one person in this world that's excluded from it. All right? But what they did was they created shoes. Here's some shoes with a rubber sole. Okay, that stops your feet from touching the ground. Here's a house to live in. Okay, now that puts you above the ground even more. Oh, your kids go straight from the fucking house to the school. And they're in a school all day long. Okay? And then they're in the house playing video games. They're not outside anymore walking on the earth. So the earth is no longer taking the positive energy from the people and putting it back in the earth. And it's no longer recharging and cleaning you like a battery. All right, we're supposed to be charging up off this. Why do you think people feel sick? Why do you think they come out with medications? That's all wrong, man. We're not supposed to be doing any of that stuff. It's against the laws of nature. Okay? The earth has a vibration. It has a frequency. It has a hum. And scientists have recorded that hum. All right? And what it does, that's why the Egyptians built the pyramids. Because they were giant batteries. They were storing the energy from the earth inside of these things. And when they went inside the pyramids, when the kings of Egypt went inside these fucking pyramids, they charged up their powers. Because they were storing a massive amount of energy. All they had to do was walk in there and walk back out, man. And they could do things like you wouldn't believe. You think them fucking blocks really got into those pyramids with slaves? I don't think so. That didn't happen. Not at all. Slaves didn't do that. Their mental abilities did it. But I'll break all that down later. Let's get back into the vid.
things have been built on top of this frozen ground, whether they're homes and businesses or airport runways or defense infrastructure. And so as that ground thaws, it sinks. And as it sinks, it destabilizes anything built on top of it. And so I spent 6 years living in Fairbanks, and I got to see firsthand the impacts of melting permafrost with collapsing houses and roads that were buckling. And now the defense infrastructure in a place like Alaska is really starting to see the signs of being in trouble, and is going to need some level of recapitalization and some level of increased support to deal with the challenges of this melting soil and the destabilization it can have on property.
And the bottom line, it really sounds as though what happens in the Arctic, as you noted, really has this ripple effect across the world.
It absolutely does. We say all the time that what happens in the Arctic doesn't stay in the Arctic, and we're starting to see more and more evidence of that. And the two big examples that we use to demonstrate that and to make sure that every American knows that they're going to be impacted by Arctic change are the increases in sea level, and that's due to the melting of the Greenland ice sheet in particular, that's really melting in an astonishing way and is contributing to sea level rise around the world. And then second, this part of the story that we're really starting to understand better, which is the impact that changing Arctic conditions are going to have on weather patterns, whether you are a fisherman in Massachusetts or a farmer in Iowa. The changes in the Arctic are going to have an impact on weather and climate over North America.
Americans really very interested to learn more about that. Jeremy Mathis, thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me.
Coming up.
Okay, you got it. I'm going to finish this video here by saying I will give you all the pieces in correct order to where you can clearly understand. I'm not going to put it in such fine fucking detail, but I will put it in fine enough detail to where it's undeniable, to where you cannot deny what's being said, because you'll see all the connections when I say them. About the Planet X, about the Earth's oceans rising because of the ice melting. I mean, you got to figure. Edgar Cayce, all these predictors, all these people that predicted these things. I mean, everything, the lava rising, the volcanoes going off, the earthquakes. I will give you a connection to everything. The chemtrails, the AI, they all have the same thing in common. Planet X, period. All right, guys, that being said, eye of the hand here. The eye sees everything.